Hey guys, welcome to the Pulling Girls podcast. Today on episode 143, we are talking about being optimistic. And I am not good at this, so I brought on a friend. Let's untangle it. Hi, I'm Erickson, the curly head behind the Pulling Curls podcast, where we untangle pregnancy, parenting, home, and even travel. We know there's no right answer for every family, but hopefully we can spark some ideas that will work for yours. Life's tangled, just like my hair. Today's guest runs the podcast Mix in Some Magic and the Instagram and the website. She is all about being magical. She's also one of my very best friends, and we went to Disneyland together in January and had such a good time. So I want to introduce today's guest, Melissa Hamblin. Hey, Melissa, welcome to the Pulling Curls podcast.
How are you?
Oh, so good. We're both here with Wet Hair Recording Podcast. I love podcasting.
Me too. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So Melissa is one of my good friends, and she is always so optimistic. She's like, it'll just work out.
It will. It does. Right?
I mean, it really usually does. But I always think it's going to go down like a flaming ball of Millennium Falcon.
That's why we're friends.
Yeah.
I bring you up and then you bring me down a little bit in a good way. You help me be realistic sometimes, because sometimes maybe I'm too optimistic.
Right. We don't need too optimistic.
No.
Yeah.
That would just be silly.
Well, I mean, I am definitely a believer that optimism is awesome, but I have a hard time doing it. And today we thought we would focus on optimism in family travel.
Right.
Because I think everyone has such optimistic hopes to start with, hopefully. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't plan it.
True.
And then
it falls apart.
Right.
Well, I do have some tips I want to share with you about being optimistic in your family travel, because, I mean, there's a lot of things that can go wrong, right? That's what you worry about.
So many things can and will go wrong. I mean, you have to expect that a lot will go wrong with kids.
Exactly. There is no such thing as a perfect family vacation. So I think everyone needs to know that right off the bat and stop daydreaming about the perfect family vacation, because it doesn't exist. But you can still have an amazing family vacation that later in your memories will seem perfect, but in the moment, you're never actually going to have a perfect family vacation.
It's true. I will say our last trip to Disneyland, like there was a moment where I was sitting there where I was like, this is perfect. This. And I was like, you need to remember this moment, because 10 minutes later, everything was going to pot. But
exactly. Well, the number one thing that I like to tell people is to make a plan for your vacation, because I feel better, and I think most people do, when they have a plan instead of just winging it, because winging it makes people stressed. And I know people get upset when I say make a plan, because they say we're on vacation, we're supposed to relax, we don't need a plan. But you do need a plan, and it can be as detailed or as vague as you want it to be, but have some sort of idea of what you're going to do or how you're going to get there, what you're going to eat, these little things, so that you don't have to make those big decisions that can feel stressful when you're on vacation in the moment.
Yeah, I agree. Because sometimes your plan, especially like on a cruise, is today's a sea day. So we're just going to walk around the ship and see what fits our fancy.
Right. And that's the perfect plan for the day. But sometimes your plan is, you're at Disneyland and you're like, all these kids want to go on different rides, and what time are we going to get there, and where are we going to eat? And they have more things that you need to think of beforehand. So I just tell people, make a plan, however that looks for you, however that looks for your family, but just have a general idea at least of what you're going to do, how you're going to do it. I think it makes a big difference.
Do you think other people's kids are always like, what are we doing next?
Yes.
Or is that just me, the planner's kids?
No, that's just you. No, just kidding. Everybody does that. Their kids all do that. In the past, I've printed off little schedules for my kids when they were little, and they loved it. They loved seeing what was coming up next. And then I didn't have to tell them 100 times.
Yeah.
And that's helpful.
Okay. What happened if you deviated, though, from the printed schedule?
And then we learned about being flexible. Because you always go off the printed schedule. It never goes like you think it's going to go. Something always changes. So you got to be flexible and adaptable.
Did you bring a printer with you to Disneyland so you could reprint them?
Nope. Just scribbled it out. Like, throw it away, kids. We're going off script.
It's like riding the Matterhorn. We're going to
Exactly.
jerk you around a little bit today.
It's good for them, right? You're teaching them things.
Yeah.
Another thing I think is so important is deciding ahead of time that you're going to have a good time no matter what. I always do this. I sit everybody down and we have a little family meeting before every vacation, every trip. I talk about what we're going to do, what our plans are, and then I talk about what I expect from them. And I tell them, I expect you to have a good attitude. I expect you to be good while we're traveling. Sometimes we're going to, if we have a long plane ride, then I'll say, we're going to be on a plane for this many hours and it's going to be hard sometimes, but we're going to have snacks and we're going to have games and we're going to have toys. And this is how we're going to get through it. It's going to be okay. And I expect you to have a good attitude. And we talk about those different things. And I think it really helps them to know that there's going to be tough times because it's always hard if you're in the car or driving or waiting in long lines. But if they know, talked about it ahead of time, this is what's going to happen, but we're still going to have fun. If we're waiting in line, guess what? That's okay. We knew we were going to have to wait in line, but we're going to have a good time anyway.
Right. I mean, a lot of it is your attitude, right? Because I was watching a video that back in the day when the Country Bear Jamboree used to be an e-ticket, it had the longest lines ever.
Oh gosh.
And thinking back, I mean, God bless the Country Bear Jamboree. I love it. But because people's expectations were that it was going to be an amazing ride, people were in line for it. So why don't we go to Mr. Lincoln like that?
I bet they were disappointed, right?
I mean, Blood in the Sand. Isn't that the song?
I think so. Well, and I always tell them too, one thing that makes me crazy is when we stop to go to the bathroom, someone always is like, I don't have to go to the bathroom. And I don't want to hear about it. When we're on vacation, I don't want to hear that. So our rule is, and I tell them every time, when I say it's time to go to the bathroom, everybody goes. I don't care if you have to go. Don't say that to me. Just go in and go to the bathroom so we can move on with our lives. We're not going to argue about it. We're all just going to do it. And that helps me feel better too when I don't have arguing.
Is there an age that you stop this?
No, my oldest is 18.
Okay.
We still do it. I'm like, I don't want to hear it. Talk about it before. Just all going to go to the bathroom. We're all on the same schedule with the bathrooms.
Yeah. I mean, I got a lot of guff on my last trip about how many restrooms I visited at Disneyland, but I was like, I don't need to hear it. Do you want me to wet my pants on that ride?
And they don't. They don't want you to wet your pants. Well, another thing that you need to remember is that the goal of a family vacation is to have fun and make memories, right? And sometimes those memories end up being ones that you don't think are going to be the good memories. Like sometimes those are the hard times on vacations, but they end up, as you're looking back, being some of your most favorite times. So we were traveling to South Africa last summer and we had a 12-hour plane ride to Germany, and we had an 11-hour layover in Germany, and then another 12-hour plane ride to South Africa. And those 11 hours in Germany were kind of rough. Like we had some rough moments. Everyone is exhausted, and it was during COVID. And so the only place for food was this little convenience store type thing with chips and candy bars and soda. And we had some low moments, but looking back, those are some of my kids' favorites. They're always like, remember when we were in that airport for 11 hours in Germany? And they talk about all these stories about how my son was he was sleeping on the chairs and then he all of a sudden was up sleep talking and it was hilarious, and how they spent an hour making up this silly song and adding harmonies and all these things to it. And that's one of their most favorite parts about it. So sometimes you have to remember that the goal is to spend time together and create memories. And sometimes those memories aren't the ones that you think they're going to be when you start off on your vacation.
Yeah, I love that. Well, and as a mom, I look back on those rough times. My dad swearing when we went fishing. My dad always swore when he took us fishing. But just also, it reminded me that my parents were just like normal humans who got super, as a mom, then when I took my kids and started swearing about something else, not that that would ever happen.
Not you.
It reminds me, oh, it's a circle of life. It's fine.
Exactly. It is the circle of life. I do think probably the most important thing you can do, though, is not waste time worrying about what you can't control, because you've made your plan. You've already decided that you're going to have a really good time no matter what happens. And so don't waste time worrying about the weather or worrying about, flight delays or crowds, things like that, things you can't control. Just put them out of your mind and decide that you're going to enjoy yourself no matter what happens. Maybe your flight gets canceled. That sucks, but teach your kids about being adaptable and have a good attitude. And it really all does work out. And those are the things that you forget, all those bad things. And when you're looking back on your vacation, you just remember all the good moments.
Do you?
You do. It's like being pregnant, where you like
Okay. Now
think
you've
back
lost me.
and you're like, that wasn't so bad. I could do that again. And then you get
Nope.
pregnant again. You're like, uh-oh, what have I done?
And now you just go on family trips instead of getting pregnant.
It works out better.
Is
It's
it?
more fun.
It's probably cheaper in the long run.
Oh, for sure.
Emotionally cheaper for sure.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
So I think you just have to know something's going to go wrong. You're going to have a good attitude about it. And just don't worry about those little things that you can't control. Because sometimes you can get so caught up in those. Like, what if it's going to rain on my Disney day? What are we going to do? That will ruin the whole day. Well, sometimes the best days are in the rain. You just don't know.
Yeah. I mean, there's a fine line between like preparing because some people show up to Disneyland in their shorts
Right.
and then it's raining and they're all miserable. And it is really hard to have a good attitude if you're freezing cold. I will
For
say
sure.
that.
No, you have to be prepared.
Yeah. So that I guess would be something you could prepare. Looking at the weather, having your galoshes,
Yes.
being prepared. I loved what you said before though, about like what your real goal is. Cause I see so many people with Disneyland. Like we hit every ride in Tomorrowland this morning. And I was like, I mean, is that your goal? Cause that could be a goal,
Right.
but it's not
Maybe
my
it
family's
is.
goal anymore because we've been enough times.
Yeah. Well, and with trips, especially as your kids get older, I think it's kind of nice to ask them what they want to do.
Right.
And tell them these are the options, these are the different things that we could do. What would you like to do? And kind of trying to fit in something that everybody thinks would be fun. We were on a cruise a few years ago, and my oldest son was so excited about all the teen activities, and he was running around doing all of those. And my middle son was 15 at the time, and he could have gone to all the activities, but he was just like, no, I'll just stay with you. I'll just sit in the chair by the pool. And I was worried that he wasn't having a good time. And I kept saying, don't you want to go and do those things? Go with your brother and go have fun and do those things. But that's really not his personality. That's not his scene. He doesn't want to meet new people, especially on a cruise ship. He's not that social. And so finally he looked at me and he's like, Mom, this is my vacation too. And I was like, oh, I guess you're right. I mean, his idea of a vacation is not going and making new friends and doing all these social activities with strangers. That does not sound fun to him. His idea of a vacation was just to sit and enjoy not doing anything and not having any demands on his time. And so I've learned that for him, that's what he enjoys doing. And so I try to work some of that into every single vacation, even if we have busy vacations, because I know that's kind of what his vacation goals are. So if you kind of ask your kids, what are your expectations? What do you think would be fun? And just kind of try to work in a little bit of something for everyone.
Yeah. And do they desperately want to swim at the pool, even though Disneyland's across the street?
You know they do.
Not my kids. I'm just kidding.
Even if it's a terrible pool, they think it's going to be amazing and they're going to want to try it out.
Well, I mean, I have Arizona kids, so unless it's 120 degrees, they're like, it is too cold, Mom.
I agree with them. I think it's probably always too cold.
Yeah. I love the idea of asking them what their goal is, though, because I think it's really easy because we're used to hauling baby kids with us when we don't ask our little kids. You don't ask your 18-month-old what the goal is.
Nope.
Because they'd be like, look at a bug. And you're like, no. But then the other thing is sometimes like Disneyland, getting back to Disneyland, my kids never wanted to ride rides. Like they all were scared of Big Thunder. They were scared of Matterhorn. So there is a thing where you're like, one of my goals is to just try and get you on a roller coaster. That's one of my goals. I don't care what your goal is, so letting them pick which one they want to go on or, when they go on it, things like that, which parent they get a ride with.
Right. That makes sense. And sometimes you do have to they don't know what they want to do because they don't know all the options, like maybe they would love Space Mountain, but they don't know because they've never been on it. So you kind of have to ease them into those things, make it their goal too. Bribery is a good idea.
Yeah. Or you take them on Ghost Galaxy, that horrific Halloween overlay, and ruin them. And sometimes that happens too. And it's a great memory.
It's all about making memories is what it's about, right?
Yeah. Ultimately, that's really what all of our life is about. Yeah.
And I found that family vacations, I found a long time ago, I just have to adjust my expectations because a family vacation for parents it's more like a business trip. It's not a vacation. I don't know why we say vacation when it's a family trip. It's
a trip.
Yeah, I'm working all the time. Like I'm up late, like getting things ready for the next day or packing lunches. Or we were in Hawaii a few months ago and we rented a house and I made dinner every single night. And I was doing laundry. I'm washing swimming suits and towels and they're all in the hot tub having their best vacation ever. And it wasn't a relaxing vacation, but that wasn't really the point.
Yeah.
The point was to be together as a family. And that's just what comes with being, with your family. And so I knew that going into it. So it didn't bother me. I had a good attitude about it, but I'm definitely going to go back to Hawaii without the kids and have my family, my alone vacation. I'll bring my husband probably.
And someone to do your laundry.
Yeah. That's why I'll bring him along. He can be in charge of the laundry next time.
All right. So many good ideas. I think optimism is so important and I am absolutely horrible at it, but I'm working on it with good friends like Melissa.
I think you're doing good. I feel like you're getting better.
That's your optimistic tone.
That's my optimistic point of view. Exactly.
All right. Thanks for coming on, Melissa.
Thanks so much. It was fun to chat with you.
Okay. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I think these are so many good tips, especially as we are coming to a summer where there's probably going to be a lot of people traveling. Fingers crossed. I hope. Side note, did you know that the Pulling Girls podcast had an entire month planned of travel episodes for May 2020? So I'm hoping that by recording this episode, I'm not like bringing back some sort of a virus. But either way, let's be optimistic that it's just going to be a good summer for family travel with us and our good attitudes. Stay tuned. Next week, we are talking about moving to the postpartum floor with one of my very favorite TikTok creators. And if you're not looking in pregnancy, the week after that, we are talking about decluttering your kitchen, which I think is so important and so hard. So stay tuned. Thanks so much for joining us on today's episode. We know you have lots of options for your ears, and we are glad that you chose us. We drop episodes weekly, and until next time, we hope you have a tangle-free day.